Hello and welcome back to We Bought a Mic, a pop culture cordyceps cast, talking The Last of Us, HBO, the television program, based on the hit video game. The whole season, all 9 episodes, we're here, we're surviving, we're living, not just surviving.
We're thriving.
Mm-hmm.
Driving around.
The cordyceps taught me how to love.
Right.
You could say.
It loves. It knows how to love. Welcome. My name's Ernest.
Oh, okay, yeah.
You were waiting on.
I'm Drew.
Yeah,
and,
no Hunter today.
Oh no.
Is he infected?
Don't everyone just immediately like turns off the fucking pod. Lowest numbers of all time. We've replaced Hunter with as we've just found out, arguably the authority, at least in our circle,
a real Game Boy
on How do you feel, Javi? Now since you're the authority, how do you feel about me saying Tilu Talau?
Well, as the one true gamer, I have to say, and it's pronounced Duli.
Wow. Doli.
I feel good. I was happy to see this come out, and the only way I could handle this not being out before it was just pretending it wasn't going to happen.
Wow.
And then it came out and it was good, and what else can I ask for?
Welcome back to the show, Javi.
It's good to be back.
We just had you on for Robin. Which one was it? I'm blanking right now.
I think last one was Saul.
Oh, Doubtfire.
And then Robin before that.
Oh,
yeah, Doubtfire.
It was Doubtfire and then Saul. Yeah. Oh man, we're on a heater streak with your apps right now.
This is 4, which is my lucky number. Meant to happen.
Holy shit. Okay.
Damn.
Okay. Yeah. This is.
We can't say we just had him on for the Robin one though.
Yeah, because it was like a year ago.
I know. I was like, did we just do that?
Yeah. No. Saul was sooner. Yeah. Drew, not a Saul head. I definitely a mushroom head.
I love Saul. I think I need to just watch it with like Family Guy and like Temple Run
on the corner.
Yeah, playing next to me because that thing
on like 1.25.
Yeah, because it does require you to have an attention span that, as an honorary Zoomer, I just don't have.
Saul on 1.25 would be cool though. Like that boy could move.
Damn, that shit hits like Breaking Bad deadass.
I just had to compensate. I would miss stuff all the time and then just have to watch an episode 6 times and then it'd be like, oh, okay, I get it.
Yeah. Saul fans be watching Breaking Bad on 0.5x speed.
Yeah, just so it hits, right?
So Javi, I'm interested. You seem to be a non-toxic gamer in terms of being excited for this show to drop and then liking it. Is that right?
Yeah, absolutely. I know there was a little controversy, if you can even call that. It's just like internet flame. There's bound to be some of that. But when something is this like immensely popular, like the people who tuned in for the show is insane. So
yeah,
people were bound to hate it.
Huge numbers. I mean, right now on Wikipedia, it puts the premiere at 500,000 viewers and the finale at 1 million viewers. So it pretty much doubled.
Which is live only, right?
Yeah. So they actually, these numbers are just basically like whoever watches just the night of, but the total viewers must be like many times.
Yeah.
This.
And it did gain ground because there's a long history of even if you're getting HBO clout, video game adaptations can be spotty. This one was definitely liable to piss people off because though I haven't played the Last of Us games, but they are so narrative and character driven for like video games that there were people who were just upset at the perceived like redundance of telling the story in the TV format. I think that's stupid as absolute fuck because it's a different it's not even similar. It is such a different medium that you can do what they did with this show, which is jump around more, go in depth on ancillary characters.
Yeah. Well, tell me if you agree with this, Javi, because we touched on this a few eps ago when the series first started, and now that it's wrapped up, I can wholeheartedly say that even though I treasure that the video game so much, I think the show is in a lot of ways better because it cuts so much of the fat out and it just zeroes in on the relationship and the story all the way. And by removing all of the gameplay, all of the action, all of the stealth, all of the crab walking around, grabbing various items and fashioning them into melee weapons, you end up with like a really captivating story that is like so almost 1-to-1 just fully lifted off of the game. Like there are scenes that are just almost verbatim recreated. And I don't know how they did it. I mean, we'll get into it with this cast and the creative team behind it, but
Craig, baby,
they absolutely knocked it out of the park. And in a lot of ways, I kind of prefer this version, even though that game is like one of my favorite games of all time. Like, what do you think, Javi? Where do you land?
The game is awesome, but like, you play the game, you're thinking, I'm going to sneak around, I'm going to save a bunch of ammo, and I'm going to beat the shit out of this game. And then, you happen to have like a super emotional experience. But like, there was the little bit of the, I don't know, should they even do it? It was good enough. You kind of want to, you're obligated to respect the people who put it out to actually developed it, made it into a story before. Because you want to say, hey, that was good enough. They did a good job. But they brought stuff to the table. I mean, Craig Mazin, you mentioned, our boy knows how to write them. He knows how to amp up the tension. And the cast is awesome. The characters are a little different, but we love seeing the sensitivity. We love seeing people get hurt and not being able to use like a health pack to come back from it. I want to feel scared.
Maybe a little bit. Maybe there was a little bit of a health pack there.
But we can't give it to him though. Bella Ramsey has to go out and find that health pack.
Exactly. Yeah.
The last health pack on Earth.
Yeah, but you are circling around something that I think is pretty common in the fandom of just we didn't ask for this, we didn't need this. Going into the show when they announced it, it was always a huge question mark of like, what is the point? Why recreate this story? It didn't feel like it was begging to be redone, right? Just because that game is so cinematic. And I think they proved everyone wrong. Like, I don't know. There might be some people out there that might prefer the game, but I think that, obviously this doesn't take the place of the game. You can always go back and play it. And they just put out the remake, the part 1 remake, and that'll be its own fun thing to dive into. I don't know if you've done that one, Javi. Have you done part 1?
Yes, I did part 1. I got the remake and started to play along with the show, and then decided just want to play, and I just want to see what happens next. It's a fun game, so we beat it before episode 4 aired.
Oh, nice. Okay. Yeah, it's a short one. Yeah, that's the other thing is that, you go into it and you're like, man, that's a whole game in a single season. They got it. They maybe there's a couple things towards the end that there was an opportunity to stretch out a little bit more.
I definitely agree with that. Having just finished the last 2 episodes over the last couple of days, but like the baseline for video game adaptations is like justifying your existence. It more than does that. Like there's even people who dislike it cannot deny that like it was worth being made at this point. It is, it's A, critically beloved, and B, a hit viewer wise, and C, like, I mean, it's fucked up, but it's like it was a profitable endeavor, which is like not the case for like, I mean, until now, like what 80% of like video game transfers, like it doesn't work. I mean, now
I mean,
in a Mario world,
we can get into this later, but like between this and Mario and the boatload of money that's going to make this weekend, we are in a moment where as the superhero balloon starts to pop, the video game I don't know what's an equivalent of a balloon. Help me out here.
A second balloon.
Nice. Oh,
it'll take its place.
I just got
you guys are sharp.
Welcome back to Talking Metaphor.
When because I know a lot of people, a lot of gamers are standing up and saying like, thank you, like just do the game. That's all you had to do. Like a lot of adaptations have gone wrong. And I'm not going to say like all adaptations are bad, because we've had some pretty good animated ones this year. but still, big budget, live action, big actors. The HBO put that much faith and money towards adapting this, and then it paid off. It's just I'm sure we're gonna see a lot of that, and Mario's coming out at the same time. It's gonna be a good year for gamers.
It's
gamers who love movies.
The first ever good year for gamers.
Yeah.
Really,
it hasn't been this good since GTA 5 in 2013.
life will never ever be as good as it was when GTA 5 dropped. But yeah, it's I mean, one big reason, one of the biggest signifiers of the fact that they did it right was how heavily they were willing to bring in Neil Druckmann, who
creator of the video game.
Yeah, he created the video game, meaning he wrote he was involved with the story breaking process of the video game. It wasn't just he wasn't just like a big picture overseer of this game. So it was really important to bring him in, because it's not like Mario or Sonic where oh cool, they brought in the guy who did the fucking plot of Super Mario Sunshine. You know what I mean? There's not an analog for most games like there is here, where there's a guy who very recently wrote a great story that they're adapting. So yeah, they brought him in really heavily. He co-wrote. He didn't just it's not just based on characters by credit. It's
right.
It's co-writing credit. And then obviously we mainly need to talk about Craig Mazin, who's god level. I think I talked about a few weeks ago. I watched Chernobyl for the first time.
Nice.
You've seen it, Javi, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I love Chernobyl.
Shit slaps.
And yeah, it was as a result of the first couple episodes of Last of Us just blowing me away. And I was like, all right, fine. I'll get around to it finally.
It's 5 eps.
It is unreal how good that shit is.
It is so harrowing and bleak, but it doesn't feel like homework. It doesn't feel like it's like you're dragging your feet trying to get through this thing. It is so insanely captivating and just good TV. I feel like that's a really high bar to clear for it to be entertaining and important and just really demanding emotionally and just mentally.
Yeah, and it it upset some people in terms of taking liberties, but to me, in my mind, that show is the perfect amount of taking liberties in order to turn an event into a story. You have to. There's no fucking choice. I hate it when people won't do that. You know what I mean? I hate it when people feel the need to include so many unimportant details. What's that fucker's name? Guy who wrote the damn post. Josh Singer.
Oh yeah.
Chill the fuck out, Josh.
Hey man, he's writing Maestro.
Yeah. That didn't I read that when we were doing our draft and I was like, I don't know about that.
Thoughts on Chernobyl, Javi?
Chernobyl is great. When it was airing, I saw each episode at least twice.
Damn.
But it also came out of nowhere. I had no idea who Craig Mazin was.
No one did.
Also,
you weren't a big Scary Movie 4 guy?
Yeah, you weren't a big Hangover Part 3 head.
Dude, he came absolutely out of nowhere. I don't know how that happened, but I'm sure it's a great story. But Craig Mazin?
Bro paid his dues for 2 decades. He spent so much time in the stew just grinding out. It's like fucking Neo or someone, or Kanye, early Kanye, how he was like, yeah, no, I'll make these beats for you guys. And then he was like, wait, if
dude got paid
do everything. Yeah.
I'm sure those Hangover movies fucking paid.
Oh yeah. He's set for life. He also hosts the Script Notes podcast, which is really interesting and also reveals the fact that he is a super normal guy. He's very personable. And so I don't know, I could see him collaborating really well with Neil Druckmann, bringing in, you know what I mean? He is the showrunner behind this show, and he brought in the guy who made the original thing not long ago and who, wants to have plenty of say, and their relationship worked. Yeah. That's a relationship that doesn't work a lot of the time.
I mean, Javi, when they announced that Mazin was on this project, you must have known it was going to be a banger, right?
It's oh man, this could be good. I'm excited for this. Like it was because literally all I knew Craig Mazin from was literally Chernobyl. And then that they,
but it feels like a good fit, right? Like you think The Last of Us, you see what he did with Chernobyl, you're like, that makes sense.
And HBO too, because especially playing without, maybe we'll get into spoilers, but I don't want to spoil anything for who hasn't played the games. But I feel like the second game really makes the world feel grounded and that people feel like people. And so like people's actions have consequences. And so that felt like a big HBO TV thing. You know what I mean? I was like, oh, that makes sense. That makes sense that would happen.
I need to read a line from Craig Mazin's Wikipedia page.
Please.
It says he graduated magna cum laude from Princeton University in 1992, and his freshman year roommate was Ted Cruz.
Oh, shit.
So that explains a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Tragic backstory, yeah.
He says he openly despises Cruz on a personal level and frequently disparages him on Twitter, calling him a huge asshole.
Mm-hmm. but they still kick it.
Right. Yeah, he cameoed as an infected.
Us fellas, we gotta hang out with our former roommates, bro. Yeah.
Comes over to him at the reunion. Hey, how you been, man?
How you doing?
Remember me, Ted? yeah, I know.
I ran for president a couple times.
Woo! Man, yeah. That upper crust, those couple of universities are just it's not like that, we're talking about like the 1800s here where it's like, yeah, of course all the presidents went to school together. There was like one school.
Right.
That's fucked up. That's gross.
But real quick, to what you were saying earlier, I also found Craig Mazin super relatable. And the more I hear him talk, he's just like a super nerd. I found out that he plays Dungeons and Dragons big time.
Nice.
And when I love a show, I can't help but picture the writer's room, But picturing this one, it's like him and Neil like back and forth, just like giggling and being really giddy about like gaming, and it brings me joy. I'm just warm inside.
He's just a dude. Like he really is. He in that Script Notes pod, he's way more willing to like peel the curtain back than most writers are. Like he has no mystique about it, about like his story breaking process. It's very, very cool. I need to dive more deeply into it, but he's been handsomely rewarded. Are you seeing his TBA?
Yeah, it's like Pirates of
the Caribbean 6 writing and Borderlands adaptation.
Get that money, dude. Fucking cash in.
He's killing it.
I do think, going back to Neil Druckmann, I do think in a lot of cases, keeping on the creator can go wrong.
Yeah, exactly.
I think in this case, it is one of those cases where, like, obviously you do want that because people are not going to. Maybe this can kind of segue into a discussion about the first episode a little bit, but like I think a lot of people would have overtly rejected this show if it had radically moved away from the story that we know from the game.
Yeah.
And not to say that like you need to bring on the creator to stay on track of an adaptation, but I think that now that we've seen the whole season, it really seems like they in the places where it mattered, they very faithfully stuck to the source material, and Neil didn't hold on to everything so tightly and allowed Craig to deviate where needed. And even in that first episode, the fact that like we see so much of Joel and Sam is his daughter, Samantha? Sarah. Of their life before we meet them in the game, immediately you know that it's going to be different. Even from the first scene where it's like the 1970s talk show talking about cordyceps, like that's Craig Mazin letting you know that it's going to be different.
Very cool.
And then you start to get into things that are like very, very one-to-one adapted from the show. And I think that in every single episode, there are so many instances where it feels like you are reliving the game, but it's executed in a completely different way. And maybe we can also talk about this cast, because Bella Ramsey as Ellie looks nothing like Ashley Johnson as Ellie, and a lot of people were worried that that character was just not going to translate by, you know, casting Bella.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely knocked it out of the park. Like,
agreed.
Of course she's different. Of course she has her own take, but she, from the moment she opens her mouth, it's like she's got that spunk. She's got that fucking heat coming. Like, there, she has that energy that you want from this character, from this very particular character that those of us that played the game know her. We know her. We know who Ellie is. You can't, that's an area where you can't deviate. You can't come up with a new take on that character. And I think the same thing goes for Joel. I mean, Pedro does his own thing, but you want that same hardened, broken man at the center of it.
Yeah,
so,
it's an insane two-hander. Bella Ramsey, I hadn't seen before.
Game of Thrones a little bit.
Yeah, so
she wasn't in it too much.
I can say that coming in raw without seeing her, and then also without having any emotional attachment to the original character, this is, I think, one of the 5 best performances I've seen in the past like year or two. Like, it's
hell yeah.
It's really, it's really, really, really nuts. Like the level of emotional honesty she achieves while still being this character that is, like, to be honest, this type of character is liable to be annoying in anything else. Like, it's liable to be a character that's like, that just happened.
Right. Yeah. Just
know?
the quippy sidekick, the plucky little fucking twerp. It's something we've seen so many times, and we've seen it bungled, and that's not the case.
Yeah, and because she reaches crazy depths of emotion when she needs to, which is like pretty often. And she also goes, she has like a bigger picture understanding. Like, by the end of the season, she is permanently changed as a character and as an actress. Like, she's giving a totally different performance because a bunch of fucked up shit just happened.
Yeah,
and she's a kid.
Yeah,
very true.
Yeah,
which is ultimately one of the main things that this story is about. It ends up becoming like a fucked up coming of age story.
Yeah, it just she has a really, really natural like feel to the way that she acts. It's like, you know, it feels reactive when it's obviously not. Like, there's an element of reaction, I'm sure, because her and our boy have a, you know,
Pedro.
Yeah, they have a good like acting relationship. So I'm sure there is an amount of like, you know, throwing sauce on it based on what your partner is doing in the scene. Well, and that's the huge benefit of how much of a two-hander the show is. Like, after
long stretches,
after Pedro and Bella, who are in every episode, the next closest actor is in 3 episodes of the whole season. That's like, the drop off is fucking insane. It's just them two coming across various side quest characters, basically.
That's what they got right, is because those characters are the emotional core of the game. They are the most important. So the fact that they focused on their arc, I mean, it seems obvious now, but in hindsight, they could have done anything. But it was just very smart. They did that well. And I, especially about Bella, my one of my pet peeves in movies is either when somebody is like younger, they always seem older. Bella Ramsey is like 19 or 18 when they filmed this.
Playing,
I don't know if it's
14.
the writing, her acting. Yeah, exactly.
She's so good.
She's so good. She seems like a kid. It has to be both, because they both freaking nailed it between like writing and acting. But she's believable. She's a kid. You know, she thinks like the most of herself, but then like is scared in that first episode. She's looking out the window saying like, "You've taken this route before. I've never been on the outside of the wall." Like, you get a little bit of that in the game, but like, you get in this show, you get the close-ups. You get her a little more scared. You get Joel more worried about if he can even do this thing. Mm-hmm. So that was all nice to see. But I also I couldn't help but be like a little removed when we started the show. So I was like, I know what's happening next. I'm just like always focused on the next thing. So since Drew, you haven't played the game. I know Ernie, you've played it before, right? You were saying?
Yeah.
I know Last of Us, like, it's another apocalypse show. It's another what's it called? Lone Wolf and Cub situation. Like, we've seen these before. Last of Us came out in 2013.
Yeah.
So it's one of the
a decade.
First. Yeah. I mean, I feel like it's one of the original stories. I don't think it's the first.
I mean, it is one of the most revolutionary video games ever made. Like, that's the other thing is like, of course it was going to get made into a movie or a show at some point because it's just this landmark game. But in terms of like progressing the genre and what video games can do, you always look at The Last of Us as this major milestone in the industry. And that's another reason why it's just like, why turn it into a show? Obviously it was always going to, but it's like, it's such a seminal work for that genre, for what that genre can do, that there was always the question of like, what would you gain from adapting it into a show? And the answer is you have these performances, like how you were just saying, like you have these close-ups, you have these actors just absolutely slaying it scene after scene. And not to disparage Ashley Johnson and Troy Baker, what they're doing is its own art form. That performance capture is its own incredible form of art, but most people are not going to play the game. It's a lot to ask. And most people, it's an easier ask to sit down and watch 9 episodes of an HBO show. And I think that what they're doing here is like top shelf. It's top tier.
For the record, Ashley Johnson and Troy Baker are incredible. Like Ashley Johnson, some of the stuff she gets to do in both games is amazing. Like I was obsessed with her. I was upset she wasn't doing more interviews and getting like actual TV show awards when the game came out, you know? But I think like, I just want to say they were awesome. Full credit to them. But they also approached Neil when they found out the show was getting made. They're like, why make the show?
Can I get in on that though? Like, why make it? But
I'm
like,
so glad they're in it though. Thank goodness for that, because they really are awesome. And it's cool to see. Should I spoil it? Can I spoil stuff now for the show?
Yeah, we're gonna have to talk about it. So if you haven't seen it, like this isn't for you. Like, we got to talk about it.
Time to say the Z word.
It's actually infected because they are not undead.
So yeah, wait, what were you saying though, Javi, about Troy Baker?
Him getting just axed by Ellie, awesome to see. Perry in that one episode who played Tommy, him getting destroyed by a bloater, awesome.
So good.
And Ashley Johnson's scene, like I cried twice, and it's like what, a 5-minute scene? Like,
so
incredible.
I don't know if you heard Neil Druckmann. I think it was, I forget which podcast it was on, but he was talking about how he's had that idea of Ellie's mom, the story of Ellie's mom, forever. Like that was not originated for this show. He's just had that in his head, and he was holding on to it for the right time.
That's interesting. It's never mentioned how she has
that was never a part of the game.
That's so crazy. You just know that she's immune, and that's
you never knew anything about her parents. I think that maybe they mentioned her mom in passing in relationship to Marlene. Maybe. Am I making that up? Or
I think it's either implied, or I think it's implied that they knew each other. Or I think or Marlene says like at one point that she knew her mom. But
the fact that we see it, we see the birth of Ellie, and it's such a visceral, like upsetting sequence.
And it's also, it's not like they sacrificed casting, because A, like you said, Ashley Johnson's good. B, she looks like she would be her mom.
Yeah.
Like I knew instantly who was about to get born.
Right.
That never happens. Like you watch a show, it's like, who's this supposed to be? Who's that?
Yeah.
I will drop a little credit to House of the Dragons, because they did a lot of time jumps and it still worked. They did well with that. But Last of Us, they just killed it in that respect. Ashley Johnson being Belly's mom is so cool.
I know, dude. The layers of meta of like Ashley Johnson giving birth to her own character is that there is some cosmic fucking beauty in that. Like,
they're cowards for not having Troy give birth to Pedro Pascal, to a fully grown Pedro Pascal.
Yeah, well, don't let Alex Garland hear that one, because he'll just recreate the ending of Men with that one. But yeah, any other like overall thoughts on just the cast and these main two before we start diving in more into the episodes?
I know. Oh, well, when they asked Neil, like Ashley and Troy, they both asked Neil, like, why make the show? And they thought, well, he said, there are some people who, at the end of the day, just aren't going to pick up a controller and play the game, which is true. Like so many fucking people watch the show. Like it's crazy. And it's cool that, he's validated by that. But I also was getting it with you, Drew. Like, did you feel like I've kind of seen this thing before? I don't know if this, like, why is this being made now?
No, well, so
maybe the zombie genre stuff.
Yeah, the zombie thing, and yeah, you're right about the the lone wolf and the cub thing. Like it,
and just maybe apocalypse stories in general.
It almost surprised me that the video game didn't come out earlier. I was thinking that the game was from like maybe 5 or 6 years earlier than it came out. But the fact that it's so influential is largely because it's so good.
Yeah.
Much like how this show is going to be remembered. Because it wasn't an issue for me because my interest in things is related to who's, making it and starring in it. But like, for example, my mom, when I was like, oh, Last of Us, watch it. You have to like check it out. Her and my dad watched all of The Walking Dead, like all the way. They got to the end.
Wow, that's impressive.
Which is fun. I didn't even know it was over. And so when I think she only watched like the first episode, and she was like, "Hey, watching now, more zombies." It was that reaction. So that is like affecting people's perception of it.
Oh, yeah.
And like, yeah, I guess they could have just moved forward with an adaptation fucking immediately, like in a perfect world. But this to me is pretty untethered from similar in theory similar things that I've seen.
In the back half, you barely see them.
Yeah,
you barely see those fuckers like at all.
Yeah,
in the second half.
Exactly. That's not what it's about. It's about, I mean, it's annoying to say, but it's made by a writer. Like it shows that the showrunner is a writer because it's about a story. It's about characters.
Because in the game, you're mowing down those fuckers all the time. Yeah. Like the game loop is you as Joel, like murdering so many fucking infected.
Yeah.
And people.
I can't help but feel like the show was great. The emotional core, they focused on what mattered. They're super efficient, like you said. But, sometimes I watch an episode, I'm like, is he going to bash this guy's head in with the brick? Is Ellie going to throw a bottle at somebody? And then Joel's just going to
I wanted more bottle throwing. Like, throw a bottle to, like, distract someone so they walk away and then you sneak past them. Yeah, I needed more of that.
But that's OP. Like, then they just have an out. But yeah, I don't know. It's interesting. And also you guys will have to tell me because there are specific scenes that I want to know how they play out in the game. One of the first post-pilot, one of the first scenes that really struck me as what would be a great video game scene is when they're in the museum.
That is exactly like the game.
Yeah, and it fucking feels like it. It really, it feels like you're playing a Sneeko mode game.
And here's my thing. It's better. It's better. Like, I'm sorry. Yep. It's just better. Like, it's more tense. It's not annoying because you're not dying all the fucking time trying to beat this thing and trying to sneak around this shit. So you're just more immersed into the drama and the stakes of the characters. And it looks better because it's real, because it's on a set with like actual makeup. These are actual performers. The clickers are like, there's a whole behind the scenes thing on HBO that you can watch where they go into like the performers of the movement of these clickers, of these infected. It's a whole thing. It's incredible.
So cool.
They
nailed it.
They scouted people from Halloween Horror Nights.
Yeah from right around the block.
Yeah, they got the Disney kids who were doing too much, quote unquote.
I get the criticism. There's not a lot of like game scenes in the show. I understand that because the game just had a butt ton of them. But like in that scene in particular, it's cool. Like little things like Joel's trying to shoot the guy, but he misses a bunch. And then later he tries to line up a shot and like, it's just hard to shoot the guy in the head because he's moving around so much. And that's pretty much the game experience. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like,
and then they rush and you have to like mash the button as they're like trying to fucking bite your face off. You have to push them off of you. They throw in all these little things and it never feels like the show has to grind to a halt to give you a quote unquote like Easter egg, or for lack of a better term, like something that you recognize from the game. You know, like there's a moment early on where Tess, the incredible, I think her name is Anna Torv.
Literally Lydia Tarr.
Love her. She like has to go around and like open a door. And you do that in the game all the time, where you have to like climb up some shit to clear the way. How
much Tess are we getting in the game? Are we getting
about
Tess?
the same?
Really?
It's about the same. Yeah. Cool. No, the end of Tess, her sacrifice, it's pretty much exactly the same.
Okay, nice.
That's another place that I think is better, because in the game, instead of infected coming to the state house, it's Fedra. So in the game, you're fighting Fedra, but in the show, it becomes this much more kind of visceral moment of Tess giving herself over to the infection. She's been infected. There's that shot of like the infected kissing her because she's not fighting the infected.
Insane
that was
shot.
Insane.
Yeah, fucking insane. Javi's shuddering right now.
What did you think when you saw that? Because that's not something from the game. We never.
Well, didn't they change the way that cordyceps work?
Yeah, the whole like interconnected fungus system.
It made me feel weird. I just thought it was weird, and then the more I thought about it, it was like, no, yeah, that's the point. But also, I guess like, because in the first episode you kind of see the tendrils coming out, but then like half of us were like, is that hair or is that actually fungus? But then by then it makes a little more sense. So I think as it goes on, you're kind of understanding it more.
Well, that
for me especially, like as I watched the show more and got to separate it from the game, it started to be like its own.
That is cordyceps. Cordyceps has a stringy, more I don't know. Like it's not that specific type of fungus is not like your traditional mushroom shape. It looks like that's the shape it has. Exactly. Yeah. And apparently, it could actually do that. I don't know. I'm not a mycologist, but what they say about the ants, the insects.
Yeah, no, that's
a real thing.
Oh, yeah, very much so.
Insects that are just become zombified by cordyceps,
like caterpillars. You'll see. It's cool.
And they're just tripping on shrooms the whole time. It's crazy.
Facts. All right, it's time to talk about Bill and Frank. Our favorite boys, or cuddly bears.
Bill and Frank's Excellent Adventure.
Yeah, I don't want to say anything like that will cancel me on this podcast. So like, stop me, Javi, before I embarrass myself. But like, we have an abundance of twinks.
I hate gay people.
we have an abundance of twinks. Okay, and we need more cuddly burly bears on our television screens.
Hard agree.
And this show gave me the type of representation that like I didn't know I wanted, and it brought a tear to my eye. Like this episode, Bill and Frank, the shot of them in suits putting rings on each other, like I'm getting like choked up right now just thinking about it. It is magical what they did in this episode. It is unbelievable, unreal storytelling. Like, oh my God.
We lived our whole lives with them. Like, I mean, it's cool, like to do like I don't know if you call it a bottle episode. Apparently, they spent like a fuck ton of money CGIing the whole town over 20 years or something. But it was like, it's so impactful because you kind of like see other characters for a brief moment in the show. But the exception of Bill and Frank is it's through their whole experience of that 20-year period. So
it's nuts.
It just weighs so much harder.
Javi,
super emotional.
Did you watch Station 11?
No, but I've been hearing a lot about Station 11.
Please watch it.
It's
homework.
Anyone, generally speaking, because no one watched Station 11, anyone who, beyond just the fact that that's a great episode of TV and like you just like you can't not love it, anyone who likes the idea of a single standalone episode just hitting you like a ton of fucking bricks just Station 11 has like 4 or 5 of those in like 10 episodes.
Yeah.
It's so fucking nuts how good that show is. Anyway,
Yeah, that's so cool.
And it shares a lot of similarities in terms of like the end of the world.
oh yeah,
Lone Wolf
no,
and
yeah,
Cub.
there's similar projects,
Yeah.
definitely. But yeah, that I mean, this episode in particular just had me thinking Station 11,
Yeah.
hardcore, because it's so impactful, because it's written very empathetically. What surprised me the most, though, unlike a lot of Station 11 episodes, is how much time they cover while still giving you a full arc.
Yeah.
Like that is hard fucking screenwriting. That's like fucking hard mode, is introducing you to people, giving you how many years? 20 years? Like,
Yeah, I think so, right? Yeah.
giving you that much time, but still being able to zero in on little moments that like define, their relationship and their love. It's gorgeous.
That
fucking
first
screenwriting.
moment on the piano, you are trained to expect that moment to go very differently. Like, we have watched so many shows where that moment is just like, oh, what? No. Oh, I'm not. Oh, I wasn't doing that. No. Oh, no, not that.
Keep going.
Yeah, and then
excuse me, I need to excuse myself right now. And they just cut all of that out, and it just goes straight into boom, beautiful romance. Just
it's true.
lean and mean. That's what this is.
They went all the way with it, and like you expect to learn a little bit about them. Like I don't think I expected the whole episode to be about their whole lives, but by the time you get to the end, it's like, holy shit, I wasn't expecting any of this. Maybe like a little setup before they get there. And the episode does run a little long. You still get a little Joel and Ellie at the end. And all the scenes.
Yeah,
awesome.
beginning and end. They kind of bookend it. Which, by the way, the beginning of that episode almost broke me, because it starts with like Joel and Ellie looking at like a genocide pit. And it like zooms into a baby's cloth. And then you see that baby, like you flash back to that baby, and it's like, you're not gonna you're not gonna fuck me up right now.
That episode,
and it's just a swerve.
That episode is so good that it almost upended the rest of the season, because it was,
You felt like it's an early peak a little bit.
Well, in terms of discussion, 1000%.
Yeah.
In terms of like, in terms of the discourse, like that episode dominated the internet for a week. Rightfully so. Like, it's so
dominated
cool.
a certain part of the internet.
Uh-oh.
Shout out to my Shapiro heads out there.
It also, speaking to what we were talking about earlier, like it proved the necessity of the show versus the video game.
Yeah. No, well, this is all show created.
Yeah.
In the game, you meet Bill, Nick Offerman, shout out, incredible, who is like pretty much playing the same character as you see in the game.
Straight IRL, Nick Offerman?
I don't know. I've always wondered.
I know him and Megan Mullally are freaky with it.
They're preppers?
He's like somewhere on the Kinsey scale. I don't, you know what I mean? He's not all the way on one side.
By the way, like, Lee said that she is Bill and Frank combined, because she is like a doomsday prepper, but also wants the neighborhood to look nice.
But also a bratty little
really good at piano, not very good at piano.
No, that's me. I do that part. The only critique I have of the episode is how prepared he is for doomsday, and then when it comes, he just walks out into the fucking road and starts like unloading the clip.
I know. I was like, what are you doing?
He starts acting
he
like
wants to die.
He starts acting like he's got the fucking like the fucking mushroom in Mario. You know what I mean? Like, he's just like, nah. Yeah, I'm just gonna pop out here and start unloading the clip. Let's go.
But yeah, in the game, Frank's already dead. They don't get the beautiful ending of dying together in the game. This show gives them a much more tender and beautiful ending.
Yeah, while still being tragic.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? It's not like it's like sacrificing your emotions.
In the game, it's only hinted that they have a relationship. It's never overtly stated, and it seems like it came to a very bitter end. Like, they just had a tough breakup, and Frank kills himself, right? That's what happens in the game. You like find him.
Yeah, like Bill has this car battery he's saving in a dangerous part of town, and then they get into a fight one day, so Frank goes to steal it and gets bit, so he hangs himself and leaves a note saying, "Fuck you, I hate you." So,
and that all happens off screen. Which is like, that's another cool thing about the game, is that like you could go through this game and not learn that. Like you could totally miss the body, totally miss the note, and the game doesn't force you to encounter it. So that's another cool thing that Neil Druckmann is sure to sprinkle into his games. Is you can find these things and uncover these layers of these characters.
And that's like
you don't have to.
That's like a tenet of any good like storytelling, is the implication of like a way bigger story.
Right.
That, you know what I mean? Like no character should feel like they're just there for their part in this story. They should all, you know, like every element needs to feel like it belongs to a different world. So
and to that, like you're like learning about this. The whole thing is world building too, because you see like Bill like at the beginning and how he gets all his resources, so you understand like how quickly everything was handled and how people were evacuated and all that. Then you get like deep in the game, like you meet Joel and Ant and Tess, which is such a cool scene. Like they argue about not having dinner parties, and then the next scene is they're having a dinner party.
That's such a good touch.
It works out so well.
So in the game, Bill's town is very different. It looks completely different. It's way more overrun. In the show, it seems like I could hang there. Like, would you guys? I feel like we could settle down in Bill's town.
Oh, facts. Well, I mean, if it's
with wine, you know what I'm saying?
Especially if Frank's there, like making sure that it looks.
So
nice.
You mean it's overrun like by like it's easier to infiltrate? You mean?
Yeah. Remind me, Javi, because like it looks completely different, right? It's like it's a lot more like urban.
Big town, lots of alleys.
Oh,
lots of buildings.
So it's a town.
It's like a suburb in the show, but it's more like kind of like a city kind of vibe. And way more overrun in the game.
And there's like tons of infected everywhere. That you're constantly trying to fight infected.
Well, that makes sense, because if you make it just like a little isolated neighborhood, then you get to have these guys just living their lives.
Yeah, just being cute. We love them being cute with their flowers and their strawberries. Oh my god!
Classic, absolute classic couple dynamic.
Using the music from Arrival is just such a cheat code. You're not allowed to do that.
Now we do need to talk about Nick Offerman's character. Is he Trumpy?
He definitely. Well, so the outbreak is 03, so he's Bush.
But I don't think he's Bush either, because Bush was low key the
kind of normie.
He was just the original, one of the original Republicans that like libertarian types didn't really fuck with.
Oh, okay.
in certain ways. So
he was Papa Bush.
He was Ron Paul.
No, this dude was full anarchist.
I mean, we see like a very specific parts of his life. The very beginning is like he hates everybody and is ready with the shotgun the moment everyone leaves down.
He's a fucking freak. He's like stoked that this is happening.
Yeah. He could easily suck, like, pre-apocalypse.
Frank totally definitely knows like right away that he's gay. Like Frank is all about it. He does not need to figure it out.
It's the mustache.
Yeah. He sees a cuddle bug and he's like, I'm jumping on this.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's like really, really elite level acting by Offerman, who has always been a very good,
and Murray Bartlett. They're so
of course
so
we haven't
good.
We haven't even talked about Murray Bartlett, who
gosh,
the king of White Lotus. I think my favorite character in either season of White Lotus.
Yeah.
He's he has to be the key that unlocks Bill. You know what I mean? And he's like empathetic, but he's also very like he has his own agency. He's very willing to like be like, no, I want this.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Well, I think that it's interesting looking back on the whole season, because this episode is only the third episode, and I feel like it kind of blankets the entire story in a way, because first of all, you have this dynamic of Bill, who just wants to survive, just straight up survive. And then Frank, who comes in and he's like, no, we can live. We can have an actual life. We can love. We can laugh. We can enjoy our existence. And then when they die, they leave this note that makes Joel feel like he has to protect Ellie, because he's already failed so many times to keep, like he failed to keep his daughter alive, and then he failed to keep Tess alive. It doesn't the note say like keep Tess alive? Like literally Bill is like telling him to do something that he already failed to do.
Already too late.
So you have these two dynamics of like, not only do we know who these two characters are and what they represent in the story, but we know what they're leaving behind to our main two characters.
Mhm.
And I feel like they carry that the entire way, even if they don't know. We know their lives because we saw them, even if our characters don't. But we carry that as we watch the rest of the story play out.
And you like, you get the vibe. Like Joel is obviously a fucking weirdo, like incel type freak when he hangs out with them for the first time. But I mean, so is fucking Offerman. They're both like, nah, fuck you, fuck this is stupid. And I mean, it's like as if Joel needed more reiteration that he has to do this shit with with Ellie, because already Tess's literal last wish was like, you got to do this shit, man. Her. And then the next episode, it's like, oh, by the way, my last wish is that you keep Tess alive. So
you kind of have to.
In the game, I think Bill's alive, obviously, when they meet. So he's trying to impart wisdom on Joel. You see, he's taking care of a girl, and he's like, you can't have anybody. I had a partner, didn't work out. That's the sort of thing that'll get you killed. And what's different about here is that Bill says, you have to look out for your loved ones. And fuck like God help anyone who stands in your way. Mm-hmm. Which, I saw that the first time, and I'm thinking like, oh, he's careful what you wish for, because he's gonna kill all the fireflies later.
I know, dude. I was thinking that the entire time, because you didn't know how this ends.
No,
right?
no. Don't. We'll get to it though.
Yeah, but because that as a fan, like, you're watching all of those things like a hawk, because you know the choice at the end of this story. Yeah. The entire time, that Joel,
that's true, he
makes this choice. He
has to be so in on this girl.
So you like this entire show is just like you're being squeezed into this funnel.
He has to love her so much to do that shit.
It's a crazy thing.
And speaking of, I do need to point out the toxicity of Joel regarding Tess. They would have been a great couple. Just open your heart a little bit, Joel. Like, she was great for him. She was like all business. You know what I mean? She just also loved him. Come on, Joel. Come on. Give her the good dick.
She loved him too. She spoke to him quietly, and he was still a piece of shit after.
Wait. This reminds me. When he gets back to his apartment, I think this is pilot, the Ep1, he drinks so much whiskey and then like downs so many pills. It's like, what are you doing,
He's
my
lit.
guy? Like, you need to stay sharp.
He's
in
lit
this
as fuck.
world.
I do want to shout out. I think the discourse around Ep3 is what like opened a bunch of like taught a bunch of people that this show is good and you should watch it. Yeah. The first two episodes are amazing.
Yeah.
The world building in them, the character development in them, like really, 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 really good shit.
Absolutely.
Especially with Joel.
Pedro's great, man.
I know.
He's fucking awesome in this show.
I'm so glad he's not wearing a mask.
I know, dude. And it's crazy because in the game they wear masks all the time. Because there's spores, there's mushroom spores everywhere, and they eliminated that from this show. I bet you he was like, I will not wear another fucking mask.
It was all Pedro. And they were like, yeah, good, that actually looks bad.
Yeah, it actually sucks.
You won't believe this, but
okay, we got to talk about Henry and Sam. So that's the next arc.
Yeah.
2-episode arc. We get Melanie Linsky in there.
Queen.
In the game, Melanie Linsky's people are just like essentially random people that you murder. Like you never, they are never like a person that you talk to.
Yeah.
It's never someone that you have like an actual connection to.
Are you introduced to them via the exact same way though, like an ambush while going through the city?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
I mean, in the game, you kill like a bunch more guys.
Yeah,
but way more brutal.
But in the game, you're in the game, you're somewhere else, right? You're not in Kansas City.
It's Pittsburgh. That's right. Yeah. No, I like Kansas City because it's more in the center of the country.
Yeah,
it also progresses the.
It also apparently looks more like Calgary or whatever.
Yeah, wherever in somewhere in Canada where they shot. But I love the idea of just taking this aspect of the game, which is in the game they're like, okay, we don't want you to be killing infected all the time. I guess you also have to be killing humans. So we'll do this thing called the hunters, and they're just around, and you'll run into them and you'll kill them, and they're
mean. They don't like you. Get out of there.
That's it. That's the only thing they tell you. And here it's like, we're gonna cast this incredible actress, Melanie Linsky, and we're actually gonna give you a real emotional through line and tie it into Henry and Sam. And the Henry and Sam stuff in the game is so memorable, and to have all of that click together and be interlocked is another reason why I think the show is better. It is like I'm sorry, fucking gamer dweebs out there. It's a great idea to just make it all lock together like this.
Gamer nerds versus TV nerds. Let's go.
It's like in the game, like it can only work if it's randomly you meet Henry and Sam and you decide to work together. But like there's way more intention to it in the show. Like Henry and Sam stealthily spot them. They make a plan to meet up with them and then hold them at gunpoint and convince them to get out of there.
Yeah, I mean the show rightfully knows that like it would take some time to convince Joel to work with anyone at all. Like he, for a while he's going to be very against it. He needs to be convinced over the course of an entire episode.
Yeah.
I can't help but think like he's over. Like I don't want to take care of you, but it's cool that you think I can do that. I'm glad that you need me because I mean I'm Joel. So
that it's a really solid arc. I did still, you do get the sense with the way that like Melanie Linsky and like that the entire drama of this city, you do get the scope that it's like it's way bigger than what we're seeing.
They overthrow Fedra,
and
are trying to establish some type of not even government, but
and she lost her you get plenty of that, but I almost liked it because watching it I was like, oh, this is a side mission. Like I was like even though this is Melanie Linsky, I know for a fact that like we're not gonna be thinking about these people in like 3 episodes.
Well, I like that it was over 2 episodes because I was wanting that from the David episode that we'll get to in a second, because I think David could have also gotten the same treatment of stretching it over 2, because I really like that here. Where you introduce them in 1 episode and then you pay it off in the next. But I feel like this show in all of these instances, especially when you get into the really violent stuff, which just I feel like is every episode someone fucking dies. Like you're introduced to someone that you care about, and by the end they're just dead. So it's pretty much every time. But it has this advantage of coming out after Last of Us Part 2. When they were making Last of Us Part 1, they didn't know what Part 2 was going to be. It's just what it is. But now they're adapting it knowing what Part 2 is. And a huge part of Part 2 is this idea of, first of all, there's no good guys and bad guys in this world. You can't be good or bad to survive in this world.
Primarily, you can't be good.
Right. And also the idea that when you make a choice to hurt someone, because you love someone else, that choice has major consequences.
Yeah.
And they layer that into this series so well. And I know Druckmann is thinking about that because that's what part 2 is all about. And that's what they seed here with the Melanie Linsky character and everything that she's doing and how ruthless she is because of the losses that she's had that are tied to Henry and Sam and the choices that he makes because he loves his brother. It is all just rooted in that idea.
It's a show about couples, really. Like it's about relationships, like one-on-one relationships, and what people are willing to do in order to protect their one.
That's true. I love how Craig Mazin puts it. He says it as my kid is more important than your kid.
Yeah, no, he has talked about how every major conflict, every war, genocide, racism, everything, every horrible thing is rooted in love gone wrong and love being twisted, in the idea that my love is more important than your love.
It's a cool take.
Yeah.
I love that nuance.
And that's really what he wants to do with this show is show how love can be bad.
Yeah.
How it can fuck you up.
Yeah, because, there ain't no good guys. Linsky, not a good guy. She has her reasons. Everyone has their reasons. We get to know Perry a little bit. Mr. Video Games. What is he?
He plays Tommy.
In the game.
Yeah.
Who's Tommy?
The brother.
Oh, wow. Really?
Right? Yeah. No, he doesn't look anything like him.
That's really funny.
I love Henry and Sam. I think that the whole time you're waiting for that fucking awful tragic ending. It's so hard to avoid thinking about it.
Up to the last second, it's like they're probably gonna change it, right? I mean, they changed some stuff. I mean, this part could be different. Episode 3 was cool, but no, it was pretty terrible.
So it's the same.
It's exactly the same.
Wow.
Yeah. The one major difference being that Ellie tries to help Sam. Well, namely that Sam is deaf in the show. He wasn't deaf.
That's
in
a
the
huge
game.
change. Yeah.
Yeah, and that when in the show or in the game rather, Sam is a little older and doesn't tell Ellie that he gets bitten, but in the show he tells her, and he's younger. So he tells her he's more scared, and then she tries to save him, which is cool because it also, and it's all for the sake of character, because it's just another way of showing that Ellie does want to help. Ellie does want to use her abilities for good.
Yeah, I don't think you can cut open your blood and pour it into the wound. I don't think that's how science works.
That's Fedra school for you.
I love
it's like charter school.
Another small difference that I love is in the game, as soon as Henry the older brother?
Yes.
Henry's the older brother.
I always confuse them.
Yeah.
As soon as he shoots himself, it cuts to black and then it goes to winter. In the show, you get this little scene of Joel and Ellie burying them and saying goodbye to them. And I think that that's a really touching, tender moment to show you like the weight of what this journey means and the loss.
Yeah, it's a
leaving.
good predecessor to like the really like measurable growth that we see in Ellie throughout the season.
How this journey is affecting her.
Because she is like that's who the camera's on when they're like, like mounting the grave. Like it's on her, and it's like, damn, the show really wants to drive home like, yeah, this is a she might have like the exterior of someone more wizened, but this is a child.
Yeah.
It's extremely cool. The guy who played Henry, I thought maybe wasn't serving as hard as he thought he was at points.
Sam was great though. Like they really found a really little deaf kid.
It's interesting. The choice to make him deaf really only makes Linsky look worse. You're like, come on, he's trying to protect a deaf kid, Melanie.
With leukemia.
Yeah, with cancer.
It's fucking crazy.
Kids die all the time, Henry. Jeez, get it together. My gosh.
I did cheer when she gets her fucking face chewed out, though. That whole sequence with the infected coming out, I was like, let's go.
I mean, is that pretty analogous to the game?
I feel like that happens in the game a lot. Like you get hordes of infected.
Yeah, I was gonna say
times.
that's the only time in the season where you get a true, just like, it feels like a video game.
Yeah,
it feels like fucking COD zombies.
Well, they played a lot with expectations there, especially because in the game they go into the sewers, but it's overrun with infected. So you fight a bunch in there. It's dark, it's creepy, it's scary. I want to go home. And then you get out of the tunnels, and it's a nice daytime suburban neighborhood. But
and then there's the
show,
sniper.
it's dark.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
I was surprised they kept the sniper because, like, we got the tunnels. They're good because, we're getting a little less action in the show. I wasn't expecting too much. Then we get the sniper. Then we get an infected horde. This episode just popped off. They went really hard with it.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, as much as I love episode 3, this episode, it's 5, Endure and Survive. That's like right up there too. Like just everything, the all of these storylines coalescing, Henry, Sam, Melanie Linsky, even the progression of how much we see Joel take care of Ellie, ending in the death of Henry and Sam. All of that worked really well.
I just want to give a little credit to episode 4 because I got a lot of hate for being kind of like a filler episode. But we get like the Joel teaching Ellie how to use a gun, which is different in the game, but super important because they're tying their relationship with violence towards their relationship with each other, which is a new addition to the show. It's kind of like inferred in the game, but they get to double down on that and make it like a part of the core. But episode 5 could not have popped off as hard without episode 4.
Yeah, it sets it up. That's a great call out. The idea of this show really like having filler episodes is kind of silly.
No, it's
there's a lot of intent.
You
here.
need to come down so that you can ramp back up again. That's just how storytelling works.
Yeah, and like a direct line to what you're saying, Javi, is like I love how in episode 5 you get the alternate perspective of what happens in episode 4. You get to see
Henry and Sam.
You get Henry's POV of the showdown. It's cool as fuck.
So a couple things about that. So that's in 4, Joel kills that boy, and then in 5 he kills the sniper. And again, this show, it has a much more tighter grip on violence and death. In the game, you're killing so many people.
Yeah, the death is like whatever.
It doesn't matter. You're just murdering lots of people. Here, every single act of violence has weight, and it makes it so much more impactful and meaningful. That just elevates the characters in the story so much because of the context of what they're going through and what this world is doing to them. It's just incredibly well done.
As it costs every time.
So then we get the Jackson episode. This town, this communist town.
Mm-hmm.
Reuniting with Tommy. We meet his wife.
Yeah, I like that they do not like Ellie's vibe.
No, she's like feral.
Yeah, they're like,
it's so good.
This bitch has mushroom blood.
Ew, your blood is umami.
In the game, you don't see Jackson. Jackson is from the second game. That's when you see Jackson.
Interesting.
They definitely mention Jackson. So everything that happens in this episode happens at the power plant that they're trying to fix to power the town. And then you don't see the actual town until part 2. But yeah, I mean, it gives you a glimpse into what could be, into what this world could offer in terms of like living. It's Frank's dream. Frank would thrive in Jackson. This would
Bill, not so much.
Bill, I mean, you could put him in the corner. He
could be like the sentinel.
He's like their blacksmith or something.
Yeah.
It looks amazing. I don't know if this is an actual town or if they just built it from nothing, but it's
a vibe.
It looks amazing.
Jackson is a vibe. And yeah, but I do like the idea that like it's not as if Joel and Ellie get there and they're like, God, I wish we could stay here. It's incredible. You know, like maybe a little more so for Joel, but like Ellie is like, fuck this place. This is deranged.
I love that how they show. I love the idea that they have a place to be safe, but that they still leave. You know what I mean?
They're like,
I love that
but
they have the choice. That makes it so much. That makes the whole show better.
Mm-hmm.
And Tommy. I love Tommy. I think he's great.
He's a good
That guy's doing a great job.
His name is Gabriel Luna.
Yeah.
Gabriel Luna.
I've seen
Related
him before.
Related to Diego?
What have I seen him in? Oh my fucking God.
Bernie?
He was in Terminator Dark Fate.
I was trying to give you some credit by saying Bernie.
I do not remember him in that movie. He was also in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. as Ghost Rider. Come on. He's great. I think he does a great job here. And then, this sets up the next episode, which is the flashback of Ellie and her girl.
Oh, man.
Left behind.
That's so sweet. Tommy is really good. Gabriel Luna kills it. I think Ratina Wesley, who plays Maria, is really good.
So I'm assuming we're going to get back to them, right? Like, we have to. They're too. No, shut up. Like, that's way too rich of a world to not return to.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know how much. I don't know how much we want to talk about this, but
no, but like they put time into casting her as with like a real ass actress who's like good. You know what I mean? Like
Jackson is a big part.
It has to.
Yeah,
it's like, I mean, like where else? Like, it's cool that they set up a place, you know, because everything else was like QZs and they all like fell apart. Like you're hearing like Boston fell and Baltimore fell throughout the show. Like none of these, and then we see Kansas City. Obviously, that did not go well. Even when Fedra is excelling, they're getting wrecked. You know, so
it's true.
It's just not a good look for them. But to have this, I'm glad they have a place to hang out in. Hopefully, it's where they go in season 2. You know,
I mean, they're spending time there for sure. It's just a matter of how much, because you know, there's a whole world to explore, and the show is interested in giving us different people in it.
We can save.
It is super rich.
We can save a season 2 speculation for later, but there is a time jump between part 1 and part 2 of the game. So if they wanted to, they could tell a story in that time jump.
I think there's a good chance they will.
Yeah.
How fat is the jump?
So Ellie is 14 in part 1, and then she's 17 in part 2. Is that right?
I think she's 19 in part 2, which is roughly the age of Bella Ramsey when she filmed season 1.
How old is she in part 1?
In part 1, she's 14, and I think it takes place over a year, so maybe she turns 15.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I think it's 4 years after that.
That's a little fat. That's a little fat time jump.
So it's like 4 years between them, and I'm kind of hoping that they add a little in there because they play around with like time jumps in the second game a lot. You know, like the back and forth, like the Pulp Fiction style storytelling.
Ooh.
But I think it could benefit from a more linear story. But I know Neil Druckmann has said that the structure of that story, the way it's told, is important to the story. So we'll see how that goes.
Going into this, you know, as I said before, like there was that question of like why, but I knew how. Like it's a very straightforward narrative. It's not, you don't, there's not a lot of places to really fuck it up if you just do it. Part 2, I genuinely do not know how they're gonna do that because it does not make sense from a traditional television perspective. Like you brought up the Pulp Fiction comparison. That's a good comparison for a movie, but in terms of like a show,
true,
different. All right, what do we think about this flashback episode, Left Behind?
Had episode 3 not existed, I feel like this would have been like a viral moment.
Yeah, probably. I think it's it was my roommate's favorite episode because Left Behind is a cool DLC, but also we played the main game a bunch, but Left Behind we probably did like once. And I don't know that a lot of it is probably the same because I remember it being like they take their time with it in the game, but so much of it, like the relationships developed, their dynamic of I'm Fedra, you're Firefly is played on a little bit more. So it just ties it up a little more neatly in the show. But I also did not find it boring. I just love seeing Bella Ramsey and seeing her pre-events of the show.
Yeah.
Pre-events, you know, it's
Yeah,
she's obviously different. She really is just a kid.
We get
But
a little
seeing her as
peek
a
at
pupil,
Fedra's school, which is
Yeah.
cool.
yeah.
which is great. Yeah, her music tastes.
her vulnerability is so sick. In this episode, it's so fucking fire, dude. No,
Oh
but
my
yeah.
gosh.
Also,
Her trying to flirt.
There's also been a fun amount of discourse about the music choices in the show and how really it should be like Korn.
Yeah, because it's 03.
Yeah, it should be like Rob Thomas.
Shit.
but they just go like 80s mode, which, you know, fair
That's
enough.
Such a good point.
Yeah, she's using a
She
fucking
should be
Walkman,
yeah,
bro.
She should be blasting like Britney Spears on CD.
She should be using a hit clips.
Yeah.
Damn. This is all blowing my mind.
Yeah.
The Last of Us, I think they missed something.
Trash.
here.
Actually, this sucks.
Yeah. She should stand like 5 for fighting.
I like Storm Reed.
Hey.
She's great in Euphoria.
Star of Missing,
Oh, that's right.
the spiritual sequel
yeah.
to Searching. It's a good movie, guys. I'm going to say it again.
Okay,
It's worth
okay.
watching.
Uh-oh. Missing. I haven't seen it, but I have only heard good things about Missing.
Yeah.
Have you seen Searching?
No, but that's
John Cho.
Yeah, it's John Cho, and it's
John
the same
Cho,
thing.
yeah.
They both take place like over the internet, but they're
computer
not
screen, yeah.
like horror movies. Cool movies.
This is also the episode where Joel is just like bleeding out fucking hardcore on a mattress.
oh my
And,
god, that's
and
right.
you're
yeah.
just like, man, I hope he gets that health pack.
I know, but
He better get
she's
that fucking health
She's
pack.
out there having some hardcore memories, and he's just gonna have to wait.
The fact that I love that we get up until this moment to learn more about Ellie, and you get episode 7, and then you get episode 8, like back to back.
Mhm.
Like they, like obvious placement in hindsight, but I was like, when are they going to put in Left Behind? Like we don't know anything about Ellie's backstory. We saw all about Joel.
They mentioned
but then we
Riley.
get like the Bella Ramsey power hour. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's right. They mentioned Riley. Yeah.
the range that she has to show to play this character, it just over the course of one season, is like absolutely fucking nuts.
Yeah.
That's why that's why I'm so high on her after this season. It's like this is like I know she's older than her character, but in terms of actors, this is a fucking kid.
Yeah.
And she's just
Yeah.
like destroying. Like she's so fucking good at everything in
Yeah.
the show.
Seeing her be so awkward with Riley. And by the way, I like that they don't show the end of that. I don't remember how Left Behind in the game actually ends. If it ends similarly, how she just gets infected and just kind of trails off from there. But it's such a classy move to like not actually give you that more gutting, visceral moment of like any type of death or anything.
Yeah. They still give you enough to figure it out by the end of the season, but nobody wants to see that at that
Yeah,
point.
exactly. No. And yeah, I mean, the juxtaposition of how vulnerable you see Ellie, like she can't even look at the Victoria's Secret stand without just blushing. Like she can't even handle it. The scene in the photo booth. I mean, that's an iconic moment from the game.
True.
Perfectly
Awesome.
recreated.
Wait, really?
Yeah.
Ah.
And
You have like options to like do different poses and stuff.
Oh, that's cool.
yeah.
Yeah.
If I'm going to nitpick like any moment to contradict my take, it would probably be that. Like that might be the one thing that the game does do better, where you can actually interact with such a tender, beautiful, vulnerable moment yourself.
Press X to vibe.
Yeah, exactly. Like, you know, it's one thing to just sit on the couch and just like watch two people just fall in love. It's another thing to like actually take part
Fall in love.
in that. Yeah. So that might be like the one thing, but
that's interesting.
I do love that it's also shot in a actual mall. They
Mhm.
actually like hit up an abandoned mall and just
that
fucked it
that
up.
whole set it's insane, that whole set, because it feels legit. You go in there and you see the freaking, is there some Sabaros in there, or is that just me? Like,
Oh,
it's
dude,
so cool.
it was still hot. Like I could probably.
What would you?
eat
Yeah. What if
a little mushroom pizza?
What if we found out that they shot this at the Tallahassee Mall?
Honestly, I would be shocked.
That'd be sick. Well, I guess it's like sort of demolished now. Have you been to the Tallahassee Mall, Javi?
I've been to the movie theater, which apparently is like the end of the mall.
Yeah, because
Right.
it's like
they kept the two ends.
the rest is like quarantine. It's like, yeah, it's closed off, and then I haven't even been since it's like outdoors.
Well, there is a guy that's like nailed to the wall by fungus in the middle of it.
Yeah,
like he is just completely crusted onto the side of the wall.
That was already there when we were in like middle school. If you went into the Stone Age store right by the movie theater,
you can take pictures. You can take like pictures on your fucking Nokia flip.
There was a dead guy in there. But yeah, that's an awesome episode. I enjoyed both of their performances. But yeah, I mean, it was just yet another episode where I was like, who the fuck is Bella Ramsey? Like, what in the fuck am I watching right now?
Absolutely.
Like it's Emmy shit. Like,
oh man. And she's so good in that. But from like all the moments of her just being excited to like game and play Mortal Kombat, like it's an emotional scene just because of how excited and happy they are. And then like you get to the end, like, thanks for fucking me up and showing the infected like halfway through the episode. You know what I mean? But then you get to the end and they have a little Halloween store. They make backup. You think it's going to go well. They come out to each other. They have a really sweet moment. When Bellarine or Ellie takes off the wolf mask and just kind of looks at her, I was just like absolutely captivated. Face red, like her eyes were. It was nuts. It was
that's such a good moment.
Yeah, she
has
immersion. She has like a realness in her performances that is really, really rare, especially for fucking young people. Young people suck at acting,
right?
Because they haven't like existed for long. It's so nuts how good she is.
And then immediately it's just like, no.
Yeah, and
denied.
But that's sort of something that the show manages to overcome like all the time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because like knowing anything at all about the game, I was like, well, Tess is gonna die.
Yeah,
this is because it's a game about the two of them.
Like I said earlier, it starts to become a pattern of every episode you meet someone that you know is going to die.
I mean, but the best example of like episode 3, the episode begins with you knowing they're dead,
right?
And so like there's no but they managed to sort of weaponize it, you know, and turn it into like a damn, isn't that fucked up?
Yeah.
Like, you know where this is going, but damn, that sucks. And it doesn't really. I don't know. It didn't bug me, even though like this entire episode in the back of your head. I mean, it's not like you're like, yeah, and they're both going to live and they're still writing each other letters to this day.
Well, because if you just clear the table of everything, it's just like Ellie is immune. That's the story.
Mm-hmm.
Ellie is immune, and it's Joel getting her to the destination where her immunity will mean something.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. And all of these interactions, all of these characters, they just add like more humanity and, you know, flavor and meaning to that journey.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, the times that like life happened to them.
Exactly.
I love a little bit more. What's cool about seeing Riley is their dynamic with each other. She's trying to one up. Well, they're trying to one up each other constantly.
Mm-hmm.
And then when you meet Ellie and Joel, like when they try to like pal around or whatever, she's just like doing it to him and he's not budging. He's like, I'm one upping you constantly. And he's like, oh, Jesus. But it's funny that like we get to see someone who plays the same game back with it. So I thought it was cool to see all that backstory with her. And really fleshed her out a lot. And it's about time.
It adds context because in these last 2 episodes, maybe not so much in 8, but definitely in 9, Joel is in the roles are reversed, and Joel is the one that's trying to poke Ellie and get her to talk, and she won't, even though the whole time she was trying to kind of relive the dynamic we saw with Riley and joke around, and he wasn't having it. So let's talk about these last 2 episodes. So I think
you see whose fucking IMDb I got pulled up over in this bitch.
This motherfucker, this fucking cannibal ass bitch, When you're talking about Emmy shit, I think Bella Ramsey has her Emmy moment in episode 8. Like you zero in completely. You get a little bit of Joel in there once he gets that health pack and he starts going in there to help a little bit. I do like at the end that he doesn't save her.
No.
Which I think is the same in the game, right? He just doesn't come to the rescue from David.
Yeah, but like then, you know, arguably what he does is like as important because she literally just needs someone to like
to hold her.
Yeah, to like be a friend.
Literally that final moment when he holds her and says, "It's all right, baby girl." And you see the watch like, fuck, dude. Fuck me up, man.
I know. And that's let's get there because things happen before this. So Scott Shepherd playing David, I think rocks as an actor. I haven't seen him in much. He's in First Cow.
Oh,
I think he's the king.
Wow. Okay. He seems like a guy that would pop up in a lot of HBO shit.
He looks like he either needs to be playing like just Irish people or like a founding father.
Yeah, he's got Thomas Jefferson vibes.
I think he's a really strong actor. And speaking toward what you said earlier, I wanted more of this arc because
this needed to be a 2 episode.
I needed more. This was such a juicy group of fucking people.
Yeah,
like wait, it's you know what I mean, juicier than Jackson feels like somewhere where you could spend a lot of time because it's not like all, you know, it's not like collapsing
right
under their fucking feet.
These people are barely hanging by a thread.
They're eating people and they low-key kind of know it.
Yeah.
You know,
I love that the whole take. The more I watch the episode, I'm like, oh, they're keeping this secret. There's no way. But like there's no way nobody has an idea or people are talking. But like you watch the episode again, like he tells her like, oh, that's elk meat. She's like, she doesn't believe it.
They're like, oh, venison.
Even just the way it's shot, like the way the camera like lingers on the plate. It's like, motherfucker.
I know. Yeah, exactly. The second you see it, immediately after finding out that this little girl's dad died, you're like,
oh my God,
this bitch's dad right now. You just know it.
Yeah.
That they start the episode with that. I'm like, this is already worse than the game. Like I know who they're eating now.
Yeah.
It's literally a Scott Tenorman episode of South Park.
So one thing I think this arc needed, it needed infected. Because in the game there's a moment that basically that scene where David sends James back,
or Troy Baker, who plays Joel.
Troy Baker. Yep, exactly. To get the medicine. And Ellie and David they're waiting. In the game, they're overrun by infected and they have to work together to survive. And I think if they would have done that in this show, it would have been and honestly, like if you're trying to, you know, but like fit certain plot points into a single episode, a sequence like that's a very expensive sequence. That's the first thing you throw out. But in terms of the storyline, it could have done a little bit more to pull you into David's trap so that in the following episode, some of the revelations could hit a little bit harder.
David is a really good leftovers character. Like an incredible leftovers character.
Yeah, he's like a preacher, but
his vibe, like we know watching it that he's insanely sus. Like we never trust him, but like he does have the ability, like watching him, you're like, I could see him gaining someone else's trust at least. It's not like he's just so openly evil that like you're like, okay, why would anyone give a fuck about this guy? I think that Scott Shepherd does a great job with that balance, and
he's not overtly evil.
Yeah,
by looking at him, you don't think evil.
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, he's losing people. You know, he's losing his confidant. He's losing his sidekick, basically. And you get why. I mean, they're starving to death, eating people. He's bold-faced lying to this little girl about her dad. Later on in the episode, he fucking smacks her in the damn face.
Oh my gosh, how weird is that, dude?
Yeah, which
and
is
forces her to like reach out.
Yeah, well, and that's
get back up.
exactly that's the first moment of him in the like of us knowing him that he's explicitly shitty. You know what I mean? And it's a really good level of shitty because that is super like Catholic school energy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Of like, yeah, I smacked you, but it's because you need to fucking listen to me. So now get the fuck
Who's
up.
your daddy now?
Yeah, get up and
bitch?
listen. It's Christ.
And we ate him.
Yeah, but I enjoyed his initial conversations with Ellie,
Yeah.
About like how he became religious after
Right.
the cordyceps hit and how weird that is. Like he does a good job of trying to sway her, but again, to the balance, he doesn't do a good enough job that you really think that she's getting swayed. Like when he reaches out to her, when he has her locked up, you're like, oh,
Yeah.
I know this bitch is about to like, I know she's about to cook his ass.
That all came a little quick.
Yeah, no, that's the thing. I need another episode here. Generally speaking, like bigger picture, I think what this is telling us, because I like Craig Mazin demonstrably knows how to pace shit out.
Yeah.
I think what this means is him and probably Neil also want to get past the games, like big picture.
Wow.
Right? Because there's no
I think there's gonna be a Last of Us Part 3 announced. Like they're probably gonna come out. Yeah, they're probably gonna come out with a third game. But then you start to get into the fucking Game of Thrones thing where it's like, is the show going to outpace
and
the
that almost
game?
The thing, I mean, we know that Druckmann just wrote the games, so like if once he's contributing, we're feeling safe. Mazin took a lot of liberties with Chernobyl to the point that that's like basically his property, even though it's based on IRL. So I trust them, and I feel that as creatives, because like narratively speaking, there isn't really a reason that these last couple episodes would be this fast. Like they're just so fucking fast. There's so much fucking plot.
And they totally could have. Like I know the first episode was like an hour and a half, but it was also like 2 episodes joined together. I think it was initially going to be 10 episodes.
Yeah,
but I think they wanted to start the journey earlier. But
I heard that they were going to cut the first episode as soon as you skip forward 20 years in the future or something like that.
Yeah, when Joel, like it ends with him like incinerating like the child's body.
Exactly.
And then it's like, that's Joel's arc. And then I guess 2 would be a little bit more of Ellie's arc and Joel meets her. But I don't know. I don't know what else they would have done with Ellie in that episode. But in regards to 8 being 2 episodes, like they totally could have done it. I agree only for the fact that Joel recovering should have probably taken a little more time. I mean, you could say like
he got a great fucking health pack, man.
He gets up and he's Gucci. He's like,
especially that's how science works, right? Like you inject the medicine directly into the stab wound, right?
And then when you hear someone who is definitely heavier than Ellie walking around upstairs, you're like, okay, it's go time. Yeah, I mean, but this issue for me at least, like, it bleeds into like past this arc in terms of like feeling fast. And that's why they say that, because I think Mazin, I feel like he had a blank check. Right, like
off of
Chernobyl, Chernobyl being a hit. They didn't make Chernobyl to be a hit,
right?
Like they made it to be an HBO prestige, like well-reviewed show, and it happened to like actually get fucking viewers. So he has to be working with like unlimited money. Maybe they ran into like pandemic-esque like shooting issues, but like why?
Oh, honestly, that could be.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Why don't we? Yeah. Why aren't the last couple episodes like over an hour long?
Yeah.
I'm not. You know what? I like watching it. I was like, I'm not seeing why I'm not getting more of this shit.
It must be a very expensive show to make because you're not relying on reusing setups.
I know,
like sets and cast.
Yeah, you're paying people.
You're essentially making like a movie every time.
Yeah, and there's
could have just been time too. It could have just been that.
Yeah,
exactly. Well, yeah, that's why, because you can't. Scheduling this must be a fucking nightmare.
Mm-hmm. That makes sense. Like, there are a litany of problems you could run into, but with Scott Shepherd, I was like, give me some more of his little collapsing society,
dude. Trust me,
it's cool as hell.
In part 2, there are more of these fucking guys.
Nice.
Like there is some insane shit that happens in part 2. Like I hope that they find those opportunities to stretch it out. But yeah, I love how it ends. I mean, they do a good job with kind of the culmination of that, and Ellie just fucking going berserk mode. And it's fucking nuts.
Well, and also speaking toward, because Ellie deals with, she is older after this ordeal. Like she is not being goofy. Like the next episode, she leaves Joel hanging on a couple of bits, she's just like, she's not vibing with it. And he's like,
I've killed so many people and I'm still riffing. Like, let's just get with it.
Yeah. He's like, listen, just accept that you're my daughter. And
she's the daddy now. And he's like, yeah, you want to play a boggle?
I got some puns.
Yeah. It's, but also I enjoy, I think that even though things feel rushed, I think they did a good job with showing the facets of Joel. Like, because leading up to the finale, I like that it's not just he snaps in the finale just because of her. We see him snap beforehand just because of her. Like, oh
my god, the interrogation.
Yeah, the interrogation. He just
murders.
He is not trying to be moral. Like, he's not trying to be like, listen, I just need to know.
No,
and then I'll leave you. Like, no, he's back in his like basic instincts mode.
Yeah.
Which is something real quick I want to mention is because in his whole method of interrogating people, that's like his thing, and he kind of like drops it in a little bit in episode 6, where they talk to that old couple. Which, by the way, great guest stars. They rock. Such a cute scene.
Yeah, I wanted to vibe with them. That seemed like a great time.
And when he talks to them, like Joel peers out of the corner with like a gun drawn, but he's like, "You're gonna point at this spot on the map, and it better match what she said." And that's what he does, like in this episode. But like, he's gonna mark that map with a bloody knife. He's not even gonna ask the second guy. That's just the thing he does. You know what I mean? Like,
you're
like
so right. You're so right. I was thinking that. I was like, I mean, you're gonna fucking know. And then he's like, yeah, I believe that guy.
But it's really cool because that also pays off in the games, and also it's like word for word from what happens in the game. Like all the dialogue is there.
Really?
Yeah.
The interrogation scene, you mean?
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
But for the record, that role couple, I think Florence and Marlon are not in the game. That was a new addition.
Yeah. Let's talk about the last episode. So you just saw this
last night?
Yeah. So you're pretty fresh on it.
Yeah, I should have been sleeping.
You had no idea that this was coming. Because Javi and I, like we said earlier, like we know this is, I think, one of the most memorable endings to any story, not just video games, like any story ever.
Agree. 100%.
The fact that if you factor in the video game part of it, the idea that in a video game you have choices in the story, that you are impacting the story.
Yeah.
Like, especially the trend of modern video games where you have entirely different outcomes depending on your choices. And here comes a game where you have no choice but to surrender to the storyteller.
But the storyteller has done a job of setting up the fact that this has to happen.
It has to happen.
Yeah.
Your character is going to undo the entire purpose of the journey. The purpose of the journey is to take Ellie, who is immune to these firefly doctors that can extract the cordyceps from her brain to develop a vaccine for this virus that has destroyed the world, this fungal pandemic. He's going to be like, no, I love my daughter. I'm not going to let her die. I'm going to murder all of these doctors. And in the game, like there are YouTube videos of people playing that scene where he's in the operating room. You have to kill the doctor. Like the game does not let you progress until you murder that doctor.
That's sick.
It's like you'll try to tap his leg and he'd be like,
so
rough every time.
Going into this, like, as fans, we have this in mind. Every choice, every moment is leading up to this choice that Joel makes to quote unquote save Ellie, right? Like, he is saving her life, but it's an incredibly selfish choice.
Well, and they, like, in the show, A, you get all the plot leading up to it, which signifies what will happen. But then B, like, they're both way worse for wear. Like, once they actually get there, like, Joel is just fucking like rambling. You know what I mean? Like, he sort of lets loose the fact, like, how much he needs her in his life.
Yeah.
It's very
well,
clear.
that scene where he basically tells her that he loves her without saying it, where they just kind of sit there and she's like, well, time heals all wounds, and he's like, it wasn't time that did it. I like started weeping in that moment. I lost it. I absolutely lost it, because
too good.
That's a Craig Mazin moment. That is Craig Mazin,
certified Mazin moment.
Yeah, that is him saying, like, I'm gonna give you something that you know to be an absolute truth about these characters because you know them.
Yeah, we've watched.
Yeah,
he's like, I know I showed you this, but now I'm gonna tell you.
Show
then tell.
And I don't think there's a moment like that in the game. I mean, in the game we get the giraffe, which is cool. That's a great moment.
Hey, Craig, get a real one. Come on.
I think it was real.
That bitch was not real.
It's so funny. I saw it. I thought it was real. My roommate was like, "This is where all the budget went. this is the whole budget right here." But I think they had a giraffe and they interlaced it with CGI.
Yeah, to get it to like stick its tongue out or the fuck at the right time.
I think that shot was definitely yeah. So what did you think about that whole climax of Joel just going fucking no Russian mode?
It rules. I had already been in, like, things are moving a little more quickly mindset because of the last episode, or really episode and a half before that. But I mean, it was obviously, it was time when, by the time they get flashbanged by the Fireflies, it was like, it's time to link up. Yeah. So I was glad that, I was glad that we had gotten to that point.
So you thought you had like maybe a 5% chance in your head that like Firefly Hospital was not gonna happen.
Yeah,
that they were gonna punt that.
Yeah, why the fuck not?
Yeah.
I don't,
Yeah.
And it's not as if I would be really upset if that were the case.
Just keep the story moving.
Yeah.
More travels,
but it does, it does give it a more, a bigger sense of like final boss. The final boss is yourself.
Yeah,
like a finality to the season. So I get why they got there, even if it felt quick. But yeah, so once we get there, which episode begins with Ellie's birth? Is it this one?
It's this one.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
That is an awesome choice.
Incredible.
To begin the finale.
Marlene's in there.
We need it. We need to understand more about what's driving Marlene.
Right.
And I still,
because we haven't seen her since
exactly.
F1.
And I almost still wish that we had a little more understanding of her stake in the game, because when she is, it felt more telly than the show has been. The show is very, Craig is really good at showing you emotions and showing you motivations. And in that moment when like she comes into the room with Joel and she's like, we're gonna kill Ellie. Sorry. I but just so you know, I care a lot. Cut
more than you.
Yeah, cut to flashback to the flashback.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like
it kind of has like, because the cutscene in the game is very similar and it does have that same vibe. Like it's very quick. Like you wake up, you realize what's happening, and then you're like, okay, I guess I gotta go. Just kidding.
Time to commit a war crime.
But there's also like the added, instead of like the extra scene with Ellie's mom, because you don't get that in the games. But there's like little notes and like tape recorders, so you can hear like Marlene talking a little bit about her relationship with Anna, which is stuff, I forget exactly what it is, but it's stuff that's not in the show either. So the idea that they supplement each other is super true, because like I'll play the last level after watching the last episode, and then it feels like, okay, I see Marlene's side a little bit more now.
Yeah.
Definitely. Like it works for what it does. I also though I will acknowledge I think the worst line in the whole series so far is during the birth flashback, which is generally awesome, but when the mom is like, I mean, Marlene, how long have we known each other? And she's like, our whole lives.
Yeah, that was very heavy-handed.
Yeah, it's just it's just such like a check off the checklist dialogue line.
Intro to screenwriting.
Yeah, we have to know.
So here's my question. What kind of fucking Firefly doctors are going to go immediately to brain surgery? Like, can we have a conversation? Like, what's the deal?
I really thought we were gonna get a little more of them, like talking about it before, but no.
Yeah,
just right into it.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
We have
Marlene is just carrying all of that in her little interaction with Joel. She's like, listen, this is they might be done already. I don't know. this surgeon has been so stoked
to just cut into this bitch's brain. He's just been waiting for it.
She has to die now. Yeah, I was like, damn, okay, this is escalated. Which, I don't know. I guess I can't hold it against the show that much because like IRL, that's sort of how things aren't measured out perfectly, especially like important events like that. Sometimes you catch wind of something really crazy happening like as it's happening.
Well, you know what I think about? I think about Station 11. Jeevan becomes a doctor.
Yeah.
And he's not a doctor. So it's
Javi,
like
you have to watch this show. I genuinely think that you would love it. It's
an all-timer.
It was both of our number ones.
Yeah.
I've heard a lot of I listened, The Ringer had a podcast, like the Deep Dive podcast. They talked about the show is really good. And they did a whole episode with Patrick Somerville, like talking about The Last of Us.
Yeah, who's speaking of like chillers, he seems so chill.
Dude's a vibe.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I love how he's just like gushing about the show the whole time. It's like, was that in the game? That was good.
The idea of like this surgeon doing this surgery in a world that hasn't had any type of substantial training for surgery in 20 years.
I mean, I'm sure he's been doing it. He's been doing surgery.
He's been practicing.
And he also, they've known that she was on the way for so long.
Yeah.
Like that like I'm sure that he was like he woke up that morning like, oh, today's my fucking day, motherfucker.
Did Marlene like jump on the private jet or something? Like, how long was she chilling while Joel and Ellie were just trekking?
She hopped on the PJ to get over there. Great question.
Well, there's like, that's as far as like the whole show feeling a little rushed. I totally get that because like the game does have a lot more action, but also has more quiet moments when you're just walking to the next objective.
Yeah, it's just it's more everything. I'm assuming. Like, how long does the game take to play? Do you think?
Well,
like you could probably do it in 9 hours, but that would be a really quick playthrough.
Yeah,
I feel like.
Yeah,
but
it's honestly not super long.
Yeah, but in regards to that, like between I think 5 and 6, there's a 3-month time jump. Because we get to the snow. Yeah, exactly. So and then even between same episode, between 5 and 6, a lot's happened. They've already gone over Sam and Henry.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a lot of that stuff we just missed. You know what I mean? So you're kind of getting this vibe that you're missing them. There's just that kind of FOMO. You just can't help but feel that feeling. And at the last episode, especially because it was so short, I had to figure like there's got to be something they cut, or with the hindsight of the second game, they have to like set up some more stuff here. But they kept it pretty much the same. The only new thing they had was Anna, Ellie's mom. But they did cut something because in the game, there's this moment where Ellie almost drowns right before they get there. And so when they get found by the Fireflies, she's still unconscious. So Joel's like, holy shit, where is she? Is she dead? Which is also because they set that up in the show. Like, Ellie can't swim, and they never did anything with that. Right. So because it's so short, I can't help but think. I think I was talking to a friend of the pod, Brett, and it's got me thinking, like, yeah, you know what? Maybe there was something else there because the episode was pretty quick, and Joel mows down a bunch of guys in an awesome, very sad, cool montage. But like all the action freaks are like, I want to see more. I want to see it like be juiced up and cool, you know?
Well, I did want to talk about that because that sequence of him killing all those guys, that just goes back to my point about how the weight of violence that this show has in comparison to the game. Because when you're killing those guys in the game, you've done that so many times. Like you're getting to the end of the game and you're just doing the same thing you've been doing the whole time. In the show, it's different because you haven't really seen Joel kill that many people. It's been maybe in the single digits.
Most of it happened in the last episode.
Yeah. And so you get to this point where it's like he's just getting headshot after headshot after headshot without blinking. And that's like the most video gamey sequence that you get. And it's done in such a sad, like that you barely hear the audio. It's just this really minor key, sad, down tempo song that plays. And that's such a great choice to show you something that is so quote unquote fun to do in a video game and show it in a way that's like incredibly devastating and heartbreaking. I think is a great choice. Any thoughts on the very end? The lie?
Other than like, I feel like deep down she knows,
of course.
You know, it's a little too, it's a bad lie.
And it's cool that they set that up even with at the beginning of the Bill and Frank episode where she calls Joel like a bad liar. She literally tells him. So it's like,
like she wakes
like,
up.
everything is there. Like, Craig, thank you. Like all these little nuggets. Like I want to be chewing on these for the 2 years I'm waiting for the next season.
You're right. And we haven't gotten to see him do this type of stuff yet because Chernobyl's one season,
Right.
Yeah.
So we get to we get to see him set up shit in a way that we didn't, and seems to be really good at it. And also, even though I was, I wanted a little bit more time spent just to get like, for the emotions to really come through in the last couple episodes, I also at the same time was having the thought like, oh, they're in this for the long haul. Like they downshifted a little bit over the course of the season because this show is going to be around for a minute. Like you know what I mean? Like this isn't being set up to be like the biggest episode of the show,
right?
Because it's not. Like they're going to be cooking for years on this.
I think part 2 is such a meaty game that it is plenty to work with for a third season.
Yeah,
they will definitely stretch out part 2 into a third season. I absolutely guarantee it.
Interesting.
There's a very pivotal character that I'm very curious to see. Her name is Abby. And that is another, just like the question mark of how they're going to nail Joel and Ellie in this one. There's a big question mark of how they're going to do Abby. And I'm ready for the discourse, man. Like all these fucking nerds that are like, I don't want my women to be buff.
It's because it was so controversial, like the game as a whole. I think it's hard not to think about how they might want to play a little more palatable and like ease people into it a little bit more.
Yeah.
Because the game takes liberties with just controlling your point of view.
Right.
So like in the sense that like in the show, like you'll have a scene with other people, but in the game, like for Winter, for instance, in the first game, you're playing as Ellie and you don't know if Joel's alive even for a long time until Ellie hears that, oh, antibiotics. I need those. And it's like, oh my God, he's alive. You know what I mean?
Yeah, we forgot to mention that. Yeah. So in the winter time era, in the game after that, you just start playing as Ellie.
Cool.
Like it just cuts to black and then you're playing as Ellie.
That's sick.
So that was a huge moment because nobody knew that was going to happen. They didn't advertise that you were going to be playing as Ellie. So cool. Yeah, that's a good point. Like the second game takes that idea and kind of runs with it more. And just explores that concept of like, what are you being like, quote unquote, forced to do as a player, that you didn't know that you were going to be doing.
Shouts to Neil Druckmann.
Yeah. It's great.
Guy's smart. And it's also, like I said, like to be brought in to an adaptation project where you don't have the final say.
Right.
And like coexist and like contribute,
and it's like it's his baby, right?
That is
like his biggest thing.
That is. I'm so fascinated by their creative relationship. because that so many times this shit just like crumbles immediately when things are adapted in this exact way.
Most people in Druckmann's situation would like be insufferable on set.
Yeah,
like,
well,
no, okay, that's not quite.
Yeah,
please.
well, they wouldn't even the base agreement of it. They'd be like, no, like I'm a writer, I wrote the game, like I will
you
show
need to
run.
fuck off. Yeah,
Who's the fuck is Craig Mazin?
Right.
I'm show running. You know, so cool shit.
Don't get spoiled on what happens in part 2.
I don't know shit.
Okay,
It would be you who would spoil it.
I haven't spoiled anything.
I don't think so.
Okay,
has Hunter played it? Because he will spoil it.
I don't think he's played it.
Okay. Hunter has spoiled like so much shit over the course of our lives. In high school, he was so fucking bad at it.
Just gotta hang on as long as you can, because it's
every group's got to have one of those.
I know.
Yeah.
He would. It was the most like in high school. It would be like like watching through Breaking Bad or something. He would think that he wasn't spoiling because he'd be vague, but it'd be like, oh, dude, Breaking Bad, like. Never again. Never gonna like Walt again. And it's like, no, that is still a spoiler. That's still a spoiler.
Oh my gosh.
I tip my cap to the Game of Thrones fandom. That when that show was on, they stayed the fuck quiet. All those book readers, they did not say a single thing. So we all have to
so much.
We all have to take one from their playbook, because they showed us how it's done.
Yeah, gamers are so good at being quiet online.
I'm surprised everyone hasn't been spoiled at this point. It's we got a long time to wait. Hopefully that doesn't get ruined.
Yeah, it hasn't even gone under production.
It's
but
also, I mean, it's a testament to how good the show is that there aren't just hordes of people being pissed off. There's still obviously plenty of people who are like not thrilled with the end product, but like. This is just it's such an agreeable show. Like it's
just well made.
It's just so clearly good in every facet. Like I don't know how you could just like throw it out as a whole.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's just good.
Right.
They did a good job.
The only really valid complaint that I've heard is that there needs to be more. There's more of this, more of that. And yeah, I agree.
That's
like,
true. Yeah, like
whatever they add in the show that's not in the game, I'm like 100% more excited.
And even the stuff they take away, like I would have loved more action, more infected stuff, but I think that would have corralled it more into a certain niche. And the fact that they kind of eased off on that, makes it more palatable.
We're still, we're not that far away from Walking Dead,
right?
Just like taking over shit for like 3 years there.
I know.
That is a good point though, Javi. Like generally speaking, like if your critique is wanting more of something, it's probably better than if you wanted less of something.
Yeah.
There's nothing that I wanted less of in the whole show. Period.
Yeah, keep me wanting more.
And played
like,
it safe, and it worked. Now they can go hard season 2. Oh, fingers crossed.
I'm curious to see how much they deviate and how much they stick to it, because now that they have the trust of people, like now that they've shown that they nailed it, now there's an even greater opportunity to deviate more and try more.
Craig unleashed.
I'm curious to see what they do. But now's the time where I do have to talk about the Super Mario Brothers movie. Because like we were saying, we are in a moment now, especially with the popularity of this show. Video games might be the new superhero boom. It looks like we could be seeing.
I mean, yeah, it has to be. Everything has to be adapted from something.
Exactly.
There are a fuckload of video games to adapt from. So
I saw the Super Mario Brothers movie, and I got very blazed before it. And if you're of age, I highly recommend doing the same. I think that this is the kind of movie that little kids will enjoy very much. Little kids. It might be too scary in some scenes for like small babies. The Bowser goons might be a little bit too intense, but it's a movie for kids, and it represents the absolute other end of the coin from Last of Us. Last of Us is an extremely mature, measured, artistic adaptation. Mario Brothers is just like, it's absolutely what you think it is. It doesn't take any chances. It doesn't do anything outside of the box. There's no big creative swing. It's just Mario. It's just Mario. And if that's what you're into and you want to see some colorful stuff, I would recommend it for that. It's not changing the world. It's not, shifting the hierarchy of power in any way. If you want to see your friends race some race cars, some Mario Karts on the Rainbow Road, it'll be there waiting for you.
That doesn't sound too bad.
Yeah,
that sounds exciting. I mean, Jack Black's gonna be in the movie. I'm gonna be jazzed up regardless.
I thought he was one of the best parts. He does sing, so you get to see Bowser doing an epic song.
Ooh.
I'm gonna end up watching it.
It's not going to do anything unexpected.
I know, but what I'm gonna take a page out of your playbook. I'm just gonna be like stupid fucking high.
It's very colorful. The animation is really, really colorful.
Mm-hmm.
And there are some sequences where it's just like, look, I'm a simple man. I like Mario. I see Mario do Mario stuff. I'm gonna smile. I'm not made of stone. I'm not made of fucking cement. But I will say, there were some moments, there were some scenes where the high did start to kind of wane a little bit. And I did start to think, like, how did we get here? What led our society to get to this moment?
I'll bring a vape into the theater then.
the IPification of everything. Like it literally felt like an ad. Like the movie felt like a commercial for Nintendo Land coming soon to Universal Studios. Which is not what you want. I don't think The Last of Us felt like an ad for PlayStation World. I don't think I ever thought like, ooh, I gotta go buy the Cordyceps doll at my local store.
No,
do you think they're teeing up a bunch of Mario character spin-offs?
150,000%, yes.
Nice. I want a Yoshi movie.
Yeah,
you're gonna get it. So,
is Yoshi sentient in the way that like a human is in that world?
I think to that I would say,
yeah. Is he? That's a great. Is he like Pluto in Mickey? Yeah.
What is his IQ? What is his exact IQ?
Javi, the other night, Lee likes to have like nights where we just watch movie trailers now.
Oh my god!
The other night we just watched a bunch of trailers, and the Flash trailer came on, and Drew was like, "The world is collapsing." What did you say? Like the world is falling apart?
Yeah, I don't remember. That one really just got to me for some reason. I was like, this is all like, this is the end of
culture.
Culture we can't go anywhere from here. Right. Well, like, because it wasn't just the Flash. It was the fact that every single trailer felt like that.
Yeah.
It just felt like
your friends Ben Affleck and Michael Keaton are back.
Dude.
Oh man.
That in particular, you're right. That really upset. It was just like, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, DC. Oh, they're doing multiverse, but like a little bit only.
That's the thing about Mario. It's tiptoeing in that direction, and if people like it, they'll do more of it. But I don't know. My thing with Mario is that at the end of the day, it's harmless. It's not really doing like active harm. It's a kid's movie. It's for children. So let them have their fun. Let them enjoy it. It's not gonna do anything other than just, having kids laugh and have a good time. So I think that when you think about video game adaptations involving various fungi and mushrooms, you got Mario and you got The Last of Us. And
it's literally two opposite sides of the scale.
Everything in between.
I want like a Toad Bowser romance arc.
There you go.
Oh,
Javi, thank you so much for coming on. We love having you on. Is there anything that you want to let the people know? Any last final thoughts on The Last of Us or Mario or anything? Any plugs? What you got going on?
I'm excited for the Dungeons and Dragons movie.
I want to see that.
Let's get some tabletop games into the gaming adaptation scene. I mean, I'm glad they just went the route of, Mario did too, just the route of having a good time.
Let's get a Settlers of Catan game now.
Honestly,
in the wake
might
of,
not be bad. Yeah.
Klaus Tuber died yesterday.
Rip.
The inventor, the architect.
Oh man,
now
they have to.
I want a hexagon-based movie.
Thank you so much.
Sold.
I'll have to get your take on D&D once you see it. Once I see it, I haven't seen it yet. But we hope to have you on soon. We have been teasing our next series. We have not announced it. We have said, it's been said. We haven't publicly announced it, but we hope to have you on for that. And in the meantime, as we close out Robin Williams, we have RV next week.
Oh, nice.
RV, you ready for RV?
Actually, more than most of what we've been at lately. I'm very ready. I've seen RV like 3 times already in my life.
Nice.
Yeah.
Remember
RV, Javi? Remember the poop hose?
Motherfucking,
how can I forget?
Motherfucking JoJo, motherfucking Josh Hutcherson.
Oh, baby.
2 of the squarest headed kids you could ever get.
The most 2004 shit you've ever said.
I'm excited.
Thank you all for listening. Please rate, review, subscribe, like, and comment, and let us know your thoughts on Last of Us. Visit webottomike.net to get every episode in your inbox. And join the Discord. Donate. Thank you, beautiful donors, for donating. Stick around for more Robin and our next series.
Which, do you know what it is, Javi?
We'll tell you.
I'm not sure.
Yeah,
no.
we'll tell you after. I'm excited. I'm really excited.
Ooh, okay. Color me purple. I want to know.
We love you. Bye.
Bye.